see, now we're talking. You fronting on me. Don't you ever front on me, Eazy-E, all right, man?
KFC.
Let's do the what? Oh, okay, I understand. Yo, let's go to DLC video, man. And then Eazy grabbed me and he whispered something in my ear, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm not telling nobody.
Why you?
No.
Maybe half the sentence.
But he was like, the one thing he said was chill or else you ain't going to be able to.
Put the dot on your target, then you blow the shit out the
Eazy-E might have looked chill, quiet, smooth, laid back, but don't get it twisted. Eazy was locked in with some serious street ties, and playing games with him was a big mistake. So when Ed Lover got bold and tried to test him, Eazy shut it down so cold, Ed still won't even repeat what was said to this day. Here's how it went down. Back in the day, on an old episode of Yo MTV Raps, Ed Lover was spinning as the DJ, doing his thing. During the segment, he tried to get playful and raised his hand at Eazy-E, kind of like a fake-out move. A bunch of fans watching thought Ed was about to slap Eazy, or at least pretend to. But instead of laughing it off, Eazy leaned in and whispered something straight in Ed's ear. And just like that, the whole energy flipped. Whatever joke Ed was trying to pull instantly died. You could see the switch. Ed dropped the bit and switched up the convo like nothing ever happened. Total shift. Fast forward years later, Ed finally broke his silence about that awkward moment. He swore up and down that he wasn't trying to hit Eazy at all. Ed explained that the hand gesture was just some inside thing he and Stretch from Live Squad used to do. They called it putting each other in the smash. So in his head, it was just a harmless joke. But clearly, Eazy didn't take it that way, and neither did the fans watching. So, when folks asked Ed Lover what Eazy-E whispered in his ear that made him freeze like that, Ed kept his lips sealed. He refused to spill, like whatever Eazy said was too real to repeat. But later on, in a different interview, Ed let something slip, and fans locked in instantly. That little hint, enough for most people to believe what they already suspected. It sounded a whole lot like a threat. Now, Ed tried to backpedal later, saying Eazy didn't actually threaten him and that he just made it seem like Eazy said something wild. But let's be real, fans ain't buying that. Whether Eazy meant it as a joke or not, anyone who knows his history knows he never let disrespect slide without making a serious point. Eazy wasn't one to play soft, and that's not the only reason fans side-eye Ed's version of the story. This wasn't just some random Eazy moment. Dude had a reputation for leaving interviewers shook, one of the most legendary moments. During an old NWA interview in the studio, everything started chill, just laid-back energy, everyone vibing, but then the interviewer messed up, asked one of those questions that sounds harmless. How close are you to real life? Like, how true are your records? Big mistake. Instead of giving a safe little media answer, Eazy-E flipped the script. Literally. He reached over, pulled out a machine gun like it was a brand new pair of Jordans, and just held it up, grinning. He was laughing with the squad like it was nothing, like this was just a regular Tuesday. Fans who've seen that clip still bring it up like it just dropped yesterday. Some even claim you can catch a quick moment where Dr. Dre looks a little uneasy. And if Dre, who was right there next to Eazy, looked the slightest bit nervous, just imagine what that poor interviewer was thinking. Meanwhile, Eazy, he just sat there cool as ice, like it was just another regular moment in his wild life. But that wasn't the only time Eazy-E had people straight up rattled during interviews. There was that infamous moment when he said, with the straightest face, "I make people buy records with a gun." And the way he said it, so chill, so matter of fact. It left everyone stunned, trying to figure out if he was playing or being dead serious. Knowing Eazy's reputation and where he came from, fans couldn't help but wonder if there was some truth hiding in that line. And then, boom, there was that legendary interview where he stopped sugarcoating everything and went all in. Eazy flat out said he was a gangster, no filters, no hesitation. The interviewer, probably trying to get slick, pushed a little further and asked, "So, how many people have you killed?" Without missing a beat, Eazy calmly replied, 7. That line has been debated for years. Some folks say he was just leaning into the image, keeping it entertaining. But others, they believe there might have been something behind that number. Because even if Eazy wasn't the one pulling triggers, with the crowd he rolled with and the world he was in, who's to say he wasn't in the mix? Things took a whole other turn when the interviewer tried to joke, saying they could kick Eazy. Eazy just looked at them real calm and replied, I don't think so. I wonder if I know karate. I know Cray Eazy. Fans watching later were quick to say that interviewer was playing with fire, and Eazy, he followed it up with a cold line that had chills running down spines. I don't want to shoot you in the studio. I'll catch you on the streets. Whoa, even after the cameras stopped rolling, those interviewers admitted they were shook. And this wasn't a one-time thing either. There was another wild moment when Dr. Dre was being interviewed, and out of nowhere, Eazy-E just casually walked by, holding an Uzi. No intro, no words, no explanation, just strolling through like he was holding a bag of groceries. Like that was normal. But not every Eazy-E interview was heavy like that. Sometimes the softer side would peek through, showing off his playful humor and cool charm. One classic moment, an interviewer asked why he always wore shades. Instead of giving a regular answer, Eazy leaned into the joke. He smiled, took off the glasses, and flipped his eyelids inside out, straight up clowning. And there was another time things could have gone real tense, but Eazy handled it smooth. An interviewer brought up his track, Reel In, and asked why they chose that title, especially since that word's so loaded, and not something non-black folks should say. It could have gone left fast, but Eazy kept his cool, navigating the moment with a mix of calm and control. But Eazy, he didn't snap or get defensive at all. Instead, he kept it cool and broke it down, calmly explaining what that word meant in the context of black culture and why it carried weight for them. Real talk, he handled it with respect. And in other interviews, Eazy even spoke on serious stuff like violence and what it really meant to live that gangster life. He made it clear, the music wasn't about hyping up violence, it was about showing the real struggle of places like Compton. One of the most unforgettable interviews, when Eazy-E spoke about Suge Knight, in that same calm, low-key tone, Eazy addressed the tension head-on. He straight up accused Suge and Dr. Dre of trying to take down Ruthless Records, no hesitation, and then Eazy dropped a bone-chilling line that had everyone holding their breath. We're going to come out fully loaded. Imagine being the interviewer in that exact moment, sitting across from Eazy-E, knowing you're smack in the middle of one of hip-hop's most dangerous beefs ever. To really get how heavy that was, you gotta rewind and understand how deep the feud ran between Eazy-E and Suge Knight. This wasn't just rap battles or name-calling, this was real. Their beef had the streets buzzing, and it was the kind where stuff could go sideways quick. Some even say Eazy once wanted to deal with Suge Knight personally, handle it himself, but someone close to him stepped in and talked him out of it. That's how real things got. The tension started bubbling way back in the early NWA days, when cracks in the group's unity started to show, and a lot of it came down to Jerry Heller, the group's manager. From Dr. Dre's side of things, it looked like Heller was running a straight-up divide-and-conquer play, giving all his attention to Eazy-E while leaving the rest of the crew feeling overlooked and played out. Instead of repping the whole group equally, Heller seemed laser-focused on Eazy, and that built up some serious resentment. To make things worse, whispers started flying about how Eazy and Heller were dealing with the group's money. Dre and the DOC were feeling shortchanged, like something wasn't adding up, and they weren't about to stay quiet about it, so they brought in someone to dig deeper, and that's when Suge Knight stepped into the picture. Dre and the DOC had Suge look into the money moves behind the scenes, thinking maybe something shady was going on. But when nothing changed and the numbers still weren't making sense, Dre and the DOC were done. They wanted out of Ruthless Records. They took it straight to Eazy, asked to be released from their contracts, but Eazy wasn't budging. He shut it down. No deal. That refusal lit a fuse. Since Suge couldn't shake Eazy directly, he aimed for the next closest target, Jerry Heller. Suge and his crew pulled up and pressed him hard, demanding Dre's contract. And according to Mob James, who was tight with Suge back then, Jerry froze on the spot, stuck in his seat like he just saw a ghost. And believe it, that wasn't even the end of the drama. Right after that whole contract drama, things got even crazier. Jerry Heller's house got broken into. A few things went missing, but that wasn't the wildest part. Someone straight up spray painted a threatening message on his mirror. There was no hard proof it was Suge, but in Jerry's mind, there was no question. From that point on, just hearing Suge's name had Jerry on edge, like he was one step away from losing it.
I wonder if I could kick Eazy-E's ass.
Well, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Maybe I could beat your ass.
I don't think you can beat back.
Are you packing?
You know karate?
I know, crazy.
With
I don't
me.
want to shoot you in the studio. Right?
Thank you, dude.
I catch you on the street.
Were you a gangster?
I guess I was.
You were?
Yeah.
Ah. See, that's good.
Is that good?
That gives you credibility.
You never kill anybody.
How many people you killed?
It's about 7.
Ruthless Records was under serious pressure, and Suge wasn't letting up one bit. That's when Eazy and Jerry decided it was time to bring in some serious muscle. Enter Mike Klein, a former Israeli Special Forces operative. This wasn't just some tough guy with muscles. Klein was on a whole different level. According to Jerry's cousin, Gary Ballin, the first time he saw a pic of Klein, the dude was holding up 2 severed heads. That's the kind of energy they were bringing into Ruthless. Klein didn't come alone either. He rolled in with a full squad of hardcore military types. No nonsense, no fear. They became Ruthless Records' new security team, and it was like an army showed up overnight. Eazy loved it. He was all about Klein's Rambo-style energy and straight-up savage skills. The man was a beast in hand-to-hand combat and deadly accurate with a weapon. One of Eazy's other bodyguards, a guy named Animal, admitted he didn't think much of Klein at first, but that changed quick. Animal said Klein never missed a single bullseye at the gun range, and always had this creepy smile on his face, even when things got real serious. And that eerie calm made him even scarier. Word on the street is, Klein didn't just sit back and guard the door. He confronted Suge Knight face to face. One version says he told Suge straight up, "If you ever come around uninvited again, you're leaving in a box." Another version, Klein supposedly threatened to chop Suge up and scatter the pieces in dumpsters across the city. Either way, the message couldn't be louder. Suge wasn't welcome, period. Once Klein and his team took over security, Suge's grip started to fade. But truth is, even before Klein came into the picture, Eazy already had real deal muscle watching his back, like the Samoan twin brothers, Jacob and John Toyo. These weren't just bodyguards. These guys were family. They were loyal, respected in the streets, and didn't mess around. When Eazy fell sick in '95, they were the ones who rushed him to the hospital. Later, they served as pallbearers at his funeral. That's how tight their bond was. With a circle like that, Suge didn't stand a chance. Eazy was locked in on all sides, so Suge switched it up and went low. The rumor? He threatened Eazy using something way more personal, his mom. And that's what finally made Eazy give up Dre's contract. It hit him deep. But here's the real twist. Some folks claim it was Jerry Heller who gave Suge the address to Eazy's mother, probably during one of those moments he was panicking, trying to keep Suge off his back. Still, that didn't stop Eazy from going in on Suge and Dre any chance he got, especially during interviews. He kept sending shots with that calm but deadly energy only Eazy could deliver. Now, Dr. Dre wasn't the only former NWA member Eazy-E fired shots at. Way before the Dre beef took center stage, Eazy had already been coming for Ice Cube. Their fallout was one of the first cracks in NWA's foundation, and Eazy didn't hold back at all when it came to calling Cube out. He dragged Cube in interviews and lit him up in music. Ice Cube took serious heat in Eazy's legendary diss track, Real G's. Eazy aimed his bars right at him, questioning Cube's street background and calling him out as someone just acting tough for the mic. It was raw, direct, and personal. As most fans already know, Ice Cube left NWA in '89 over money. He felt like he wasn't getting paid what he deserved, especially after writing a huge chunk of the Straight Outta Compton album. That split turned ugly fast, and the beef, it got so wild it started pulling in folks who had nothing to do with their business. One major name caught in the crossfire was D. Barnes. a presenter on the Fox TV show Pump It Up, which covered hip-hop culture and featured all the top rappers. Dee got pulled into the drama simply for doing her job, and years later, her name even popped up in Eminem's track Guilty Conscience, where he referenced the incident involving Dr. Dre. Now let's break down how Dee ended up stuck in the middle of it all. By the time the Ice Cube drama exploded, Dee Barnes had already interviewed NWA multiple times. She knew the crew, had history with them, and had been covering their moves for years on her show. But once Cube walked away from the group, everything changed. NWA clapped back hard on their diss track, 100 Miles and Running, making it loud and clear they weren't gonna let him leave in peace. According to Dee herself, when she brought NWA back on Pump It Up to talk about what they were doing next, the energy was tense from the jump. Almost every question she asked led to another jab at Ice Cube. It was non-stop. Things got so heated, the production team had to cut out some of the harshest stuff just to get the interview approved for air. But here's where it all flipped. When the episode finally dropped, it didn't just show the NWA interview, it also included a separate clip that had been filmed earlier on the set of Boys in the Hood. In that segment, Cube's friend and collaborator Yo-Yo was being interviewed, and Ice Cube crashed it. He jumped in and used the moment to fire back at NWA, even flipping their own lyrics to throw shade right back at them. To make it worse, Cube also cracked jokes about the DOC, someone close to Dr. Dre, who had just survived a brutal car crash that left his voice permanently damaged. That part really hit a nerve. For the record, Dee Barnes said even back then she didn't think that segment should air. But as just the presenter, she didn't have control over the final cut. Unfortunately, the network went with the most explosive version possible, airing Cube's clip right after the NWA segment. And when the dust settled, Dee looked into the camera and said it herself, "I'm always in the middle of controversy." That quick moment where Dee Barnes looked into the camera, it might have just been a reflex, a way to play off an uncomfortable situation. But once the edit aired, it painted a whole different picture. To some, it looked like she was adding fuel to the fire, fanning the flames between Ice Cube and NWA, and putting herself right in the middle of their war. After that broadcast, time passed, but things didn't stay quiet. Eventually, Dr. Dre and Dee Barnes crossed paths again at a Def Jam party, and it turned into something no one saw coming. Dre, reportedly drunk and still angry over how the Pump It Up interview was cut and aired, completely lost control. According to Rolling Stone journalist Alan Light in the article Beating Up the Charts, Dre spotted Dee and snapped. He allegedly grabbed her by the hair and started slamming the right side of her body and head against a brick wall near a stairway, over and over. His bodyguard, according to the report, held the crowd back with a gun, making sure no one could step in. It didn't stop there. Dre reportedly tried to throw her down the stairs but couldn't, so he started kicking her in the ribs and hands. Dee managed to escape into the women's bathroom, but Dre followed her, allegedly grabbing her by the hair again and punching her in the back of the head. The incident sent shockwaves through the industry, and what made it even more disturbing, some NWA members actually commented on it in interviews. MC Ren bluntly said, "She deserved it." Eazy-E backed that up, saying, "Yeah, had it coming." Their reaction shocked a lot of fans and would come back into the spotlight years later. Dr. Dre didn't show a drop of remorse. When asked about it, he said, "People talk all this ish, but you know, somebody messed with me, I'm gonna mess with them. I just did it. Ain't nothing you can do now by talking about it. Besides, it ain't no big thing. I just threw her through a door." That's how casually he brushed it off, like it was no big deal. Dee Barnes later filed a $22.75 million lawsuit against Dre, but the case was eventually settled out of court behind closed doors. Still, the damage was done, and the silence around it for years spoke volumes. Now imagine being a journalist or interviewer sitting across from Dre or any of NWA after that. The tension must have been thick, like walking on glass. Every word, every question, had to be calculated. Nobody wanted to end up in a situation like D's. If you found this story wild, shocking, or eye-opening, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the rawest stories in hip-hop history. This one's just the tip of the iceberg.